To make the Pandora Ribbon Choker, you'll need some pieces of ribbon, and we have a selection of 13 or 14 pieces of ribbon, and these are all longer than 15 inches. You'll also need a Pandora bead. This is kind of a nice little pave bead, and the Pandora just means that it has a big opening in it so that we can fit all these ribbons inside. We've got a toggle clasp. We've got some bead caps. These are pretty big so that we can fit the ends of the ribbons inside. 2 pieces of wire. This is 24 gauge wire. It's a silver color. These pieces are about 3 inches long. And for tools, we're going to use wire cutters, scissors, and we have a ruler. To make the Pandora Ribbon Choker, the first thing we want to do is feed these ribbons through the large hole of the Pandora bead. And we found that it's best to do these one at a time. You might think that you could just put them all together, maybe put some tape on the end, but we found it really difficult to try to get all those ribbons through at the same time. And what helped for us is to use the end of it, the scissors, and we just took the little ribbon end and pushed it through that way. And then you can kind of grab it from the other side there. And we're just going to feed these through one at a time. So you can kind of put that across the opening and then take your scissors and push it through. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And they don't need to be lined up yet. We're going to do that as the next step. But this is just the step to get these all through the ribbon, through the bead, so that the bead is on all of the ribbons. And then we didn't want to iron them. See how they're kind of scriggly and scraggly in places? We think that's fun because it makes the necklace have its own kind of movement. It has a little more body and shape that way. And these ribbon pieces we've just been saving these from other projects. And we love to raid that ribbon stash and see what projects we can make out of them. And this was a natural. We have a bracelet that we've made that is almost the same project, except it's a shorter bracelet. It uses fewer ribbons because it is a bracelet. And we used a magnet clasp for that because it's a bracelet. But it's so popular, that project is, that we thought, well, we should make a choker of it. Now, as I'm getting down to these last few ones, it's harder to push them through. But if I pull the bead, the ribbon kind of gets stuck with friction to the other ribbons. That helps pull them through. And now we just have one more to go. Put this last one in there. Some of these are just solid, little thin, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch thick ribbon. And some are like ombre and hand dyed, real beauties. So here's all our ribbons now, are fed through the bead. And I can center that, but it's not going to be the final center for it. But that's just going to help us so that we can start working on the ends. We're going to show you how to put the ends on the choker next. To finish the ends of the choker, what you want to do is you want to line up all the ribbon ends on one side. Don't worry about the other side, but you just want all these to be lined up together, and these are pretty close to being lined up. And then I just pulled from the other side. I just pulled the slack out. Whoops, that guy escaped. Bring him back up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3-inch piece of wire. This is our 24 gauge silver wire. I'm going to bend this into a hairpin shape, just with my hands, just like that. And then I'm going to take this hairpin and I'm going to slide all those ribbons into the hairpin. And I'm going to pinch it about 3/4 of an inch from the end here. I'm going to press that hairpin together. And then I'm going to twist the ends of the hairpin tightly. I'm just going to twist it around itself like that. I want it to be very tight. This is going to be containing all of our ribbons and holding them together. So I'm going to twist that a couple of times like that. And then what we want to do is put these ends together and feed these two through one of our bead caps. This is a bead cap, or you could use end caps. And these are sold with all kinds of jewelry findings. You just want to look for one that's big enough to hold the ends of these ribbons in here. I'm just pulling that all the way up in there. It's tucked in nice and tight. Don't worry about these pieces, we're going to trim those. But now I've got the end on, that's going to look real nice. And then I'm going to use these wires to attach to the clasp. This is the round part of our toggle clasp, and it came with a jump ring, and that gives it a little movement, a little wiggle room when you're fastening the toggle clasp. So I'm going to leave that on there. I'm going to use that to attach to. I'm going to feed both those wires up through that jump ring, and then I'm going to bend the wire back on itself. It's kind of like another hairpin, capturing that jump ring. And then I'm going to take these two wires, the ends, and I'm going to wrap them around the neck where the wire was coming out through the bead cap. I'm just going to wrap it twice. It's kind of a wrapped loop there. And then I'm going to use the wire cutters to trim that wire close. And these are curved on one side and they're flat on the other. I'm going to use the flat side against the project, reach in there and cut those two wires. And I can press the ends down a little bit if they're sticking out. You can use your chain nose pliers for this too. But now we've got one clasp on, and now we can put on the other side of the clasp. Let's trim these first. I'm going to grab all the little loose ends here and simply cut them short. Make sure you don't cut the real necklace, and just trim those loose ends. And then what happens is when you put the necklace back together, the choker, those little pieces just kind of fill in and you won't even see them. So now we want to put the clasp on the other end, but we want to make sure that the necklace is the right length. So we want it to be 15 inches when it's finished. So we don't just want to put it on the end here. This might be a half an inch too long or even an inch too long. So I'm going to measure it from the toggle clasp, which is way out here. I'm going to start out here and measure. We're 12 inches to this point, and then from that point we're 13, 14, and 15. So most of them are ending up right at 15, and that's going to work perfectly. I can just trim these two longer ones, cut that one off and that one, and what's going to happen is we're going to fold those ribbons back, so it's going to be shorter than 15 inches, but when we put the clasp on it, it's going to add back that ½ inch. So just like we did before, I'm going to take all those ends, and I'm going to take my 3-inch piece of wire, bend it into a hairpin. I'm going to feed all these ends into the hairpin, and then I want to make sure when I pinch it, I don't want to pinch it down here. It's going to shorten the necklace by 1.5 inches. I want to pinch it out here at the end, only about a ½ inch from the shortest pieces here. So that's where I want it to be. Most of these are about here. So there's my hairpin. I'm pinching there. I'm going to do just like we did before. I'm going to press those together and twist the wires around each other. You want this to be pretty tight. Just twisting those around. And then I'm going to press these two together. And just like we did on the other side, I'm going to feed them through the bead cap and tuck all those ends up inside that bead cap. It makes such a nice tidy end to the project. It's really nice. Now I can take this end of the wire and feed it through the small end of the toggle clasp. This is the little end, the little bar end of the toggle clasp. I'm going to bend this back like another hairpin. And that's actually a little bit long in the neck. I would fix that, but I'm going to keep going. I would make this a little closer to the bead cap. But just to show you how it's done, I can wrap that around there twice, once and twice, and then trim the end. And now all we need to do is trim our little ribbon tails like we did before. Protect the ones that you want to keep, they're part of the choker. And then we just simply cut these short, and then we can kind of tuck them in a little bit. And now we center our bead here. We have a beautiful Pandora Ribbon Choker.